Hi, shepherd's pie, greetings from the Philippines. I'm in Dumaguete again, and I'm in Ground Zero, sitting down with my old friend Mark. And we're going to have a little chat about Mark. We're going to turn the tables, and rather than Mark asking people questions about their lives, we're going to get to the bottom of old Mark's life and what happened before he came to the Philippines. Because we all know about his channel and that, but we want to know about the early days before he got over here. So thanks for sitting down with us, Mark.
My pleasure. Good seeing you again.
Likewise. So let's start from the beginning, Mark. Where did it all begin?
Well, I was born in 1955 in Terre Haute, Indiana.
Indiana.
Yeah.
What's that like over there? Then I've never been to Indiana. What kind of a state is that?
Uh, I don't know. I left there when I was like 2. Moved to Cincinnati with my family,
Cincinnati.
and so never really cared for living in Indiana too much. I like the west of America more
Right.
than any place. I lived all over, but I really prefer being out west.
Big family.
5 kids.
5 kids.
Yeah, I'm the oldest.
Okay. Brothers, sisters, or?
Yeah, 1 sister, 4 brothers, 3 brothers.
All right. So what age were you when you left Indiana?
Well, we moved to Cincinnati when I was like 2 or 3.
Oh, so you've not really got any recollections
No,
then.
we went back and forth to visit family and stuff, but we left there.
And did you grow up in Cincinnati then?
Yeah, I
or-
more or less grew up in Cincinnati and then left when I was like 20, 21.
Okay. And where did you go then?
Well, I started managing rock and roll bands, like local bands,
Wow.
and so I'd run lights and sound for them, stage manage them, and I was working for a record company called Urge Records. It's just kind of basically a gopher, just taking records to or taking tapes to radio stations, doing concerts, things like that, and started going on the road with bands, touring around, and then from that, my parents moved to Louisville, Kentucky, and while they were there, and I was just working for a local band in Cincinnati, it was a great life. I mean, lots of fun. You're in a nightclub every night.
Are any
free drinks.
of these bands we'd have heard of, or?
No. Well, the band I worked for mostly was called Ice.
Ice. Okay.
And anyway, it was a great life, and we know hardly any money at all. Working bands. A lot of times they couldn't afford to pay you. And my mother said, "Well, why don't you go out to the theater that's there in Louisville and apply for a job there?" I said, "Well, Mom, I don't have any experience in theater. I've never worked in a theater in my life, but I needed a job, so I put on my one and only sport coat and went out to this theater. It was called the Barn Dinner Theater. It was a dinner theater. It was out in Simpsonville, Kentucky, which is like 30 miles outside of Louisville. So I called them up and I said, "Hi, I call myself a stagehand. So I'm a stagehand, see if you're hiring." They said, "Yeah, we are, as a matter of fact, come on out." So I went out there and they interviewed me, and it was, they just needed somebody to help build sets and stuff. I can handle a hammer and nails and saws and stuff like that. So they hired me, and they had this big barn at the producer's house, and that's where they built all the sets. And me and the stage manager and a couple other guys, we'd have all the plans for the set, and we just build the sets, and then we had to install the sets. And so it was lots and lots of hours. I was only making like $3-4 an hour, but it was lots of hours. So I was making way more money than I was making with the bands.
Were you enjoying it?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I just loved it.
Okay.
And then when the show opened, I was working backstage, like running. There was a thing called a revolve, which is a great big round platform, like maybe 20 feet in diameter, and you on your cue, you push a button and it spins around slowly, and there's a different set on the other side. So I was running that, running spotlights sometimes, and just basically doing whatever they needed me to do. And I was living at the theater, but there was no, like, the actors had rooms there, but since I was just like a stagehand, they didn't have a room for me. And so I'd sleep backstage on the floor someplace, and we did a show called Greater Tuna, and in the show there was a prop coffin, like a real coffin. And so I was sleeping in the coffin for like 2 months. I just prop it up with a little stick and lay inside there and sleep. And nobody knew where I was. Like, I'd be with all the actors in the green room and stuff after the show. We'd have a few drinks and whatever. And, "Well, good night, see you guys later." And I disappear, and nobody knew where I went. I go, "He doesn't have a car. We're out in the middle of nowhere. Where does Mark go?" Nobody knew where Mark went. They didn't know I was in the coffin. And so eventually I saved up enough money for a down payment on a car, and I bought a Datsun 240Z, 1974 240Z, which changed my life. All of a sudden, I had transportation, and then I moved into the house of the stage manager. He was like my boss, basically. He was like younger than me, and but he was really lazy. The guy just, was. If we were working sometimes 24 hours straight, because you'd have a show, you'd run the show would be over, and when the run was over, you had to strike the set, you'd tear down the whole set, install a new set, install new lights and everything, and she'd be up all night long working on the set because the next morning you had rehearsal.
Huh?
And he'd just fall asleep on the couch. He could not wake the guy. If it was cold water and he wouldn't wake up. So I was always up and ready. Eventually they got tired and they fired him and they gave me the job.
Okay.
And that was Union Stage Manager, Actors Equity Association contract.
So that's a good
Yeah,
deal.
that's a really huge leap, So I had a union contract, and then it was like $500 a week plus extra for working overtime. And so I was the boss of all the actors. Like when the show opened, after opening night, the producer left to do other shows. Then it turns over to the stage manager. I was the boss of the whole show. All the actors, they all reported me. Like I watched the show every night because I was running lights and sound. And so if they dropped a line or they changed their blocking or made a mistake, I was the one that said, you did this, you said this instead of saying that, or whatever. I was supposed to keep the show the way the director directed it.
That's a lot of pressure then.
No, well, it really wasn't that bad. I was good at it. And I changed the whole lighting booth. I set it all up really cool. It's like, way up in the air, facing the stage, and kind of dark in there. You had the soundboard, the light board, and your headset and everything. So it was really cool. And then we started doing concerts there. Like we had Jerry Lee Lewis, Rick Nelson, The Platters, Fifth Dimension, bunch of bands. Let's see who else. I can't remember. A lot of bands came there. So I do the shows, run lights and sound for them. We'd close for like on a Sunday or Saturday night, and we'd have a concert that night. So that was fun. But then the theater closed, and didn't have a job again.
And what age are you now?
It's like 23, 24.
So you're still single and you're still quite young.
Yeah. Also what happened is I was always trying to get more money and different things. And like one time, so we can't pay you anymore. It's a union contract. I said, well, you should put me in a show. I'm joking around. Like, I want to be an actor too. I said, okay. And so the way the union rules are written, that say they need they have a small role, like say I did Barefoot in the Park, and they needed a mailman in Barefoot in the Park. But to hire a new one, an actor that's union, they'd have to pay them like $500-600, a week. Where if they use the stage manager for the same role, you only have to give them like an extra $100. And so anyway, I started doing all these small roles in all these different plays. I did like 5 or 6 different plays where I would literally do the light cue. Lights would come up. I'd do whatever I had to do. I'd run out of the booth, run backstage, throw on. I usually had my costume on in the booth. Whatever change I had to do, come on stage, do my lines, do my bit, run back, and do the next light cue. So I was running lights and sound and acting.
You're like Superman going in the old thing and changing his clothes.
Anyway, we did a show called an original called "Shut Your Eyes and Think of England." Again, this is like in the late '70s. And that night, opening night, there was a talent agent in the audience, and everybody knew this guy was there. And they're all excited. There's a talent agent out there, if you get some movie roles or TV or commercials or whatever, they're all excited about it. And so anyway, we did the show and everything went fine. Well, when the show was over, the only person that the talent agent wanted to see was me.
Really?
And I wasn't a good actor. I was like, it was like I was playing like a gay English doctor, so it wasn't that good of a role, and I wasn't that good at it. But anyway, I got a bunch of commercials, some of them local, some national. Like one I did like Church's Fried Chicken, and I did a tanning commercial, and I did one on marriage relationship commercial. And
so just out of interest, to make adverts at that time, did you have to be in the union as well, or could anyone make
No,
them? No. Okay.
some were Actors Equity. If you're an Actors Equity, you can buy into AFTRA or SAG.
Right.
AFTRA's TV, SAG is movies.
Okay.
And anyway, so most of the commercials I did were local, so they weren't union.
Okay, right.
But I did do a couple nationals. Did like a Chevy commercial one time. And it was great extra money doing that, and I did that for, often I had an agent and everything.
Can you find those on YouTube anywhere, or are they gone, I think?
It's back in the 70s,
Yeah.
a long time ago. And So then, you know, like that theater closed, and so I started bouncing around from dinner theater to dinner theater. I was in North Carolina, I was in Tennessee, California, all over doing these shows as stage manager. And I was in North Carolina one time doing Fiddler on the Roof, stage manager. And in the orchestra was this lady. She's a violinist. We had like a 4-piece orchestra. And got to be friends with her. And she told me she used to work on the QE2 cruise ship.
All right.
Yeah, and she was, you know, in the orchestra on the cruise ship. And I said, well, they have shows on ships? She said, yeah, they have shows. I said, they have stage managers? She said, oh yeah, every ship has a stage manager and sometimes 2 assistants. Like a light went off in my head. I said, wow, that's for me. That's for me. And so, you know, this is way before the internet or any of that stuff. So I went to a travel agent, pretended like I was going to go on a cruise. I was getting married, and go on a cruise. So I got all the brochures from every single cruise line in the world. And the very back of the books was the address of the cruise line, you know. And I picked out the one that was the most exciting, was Royal Viking. And every page was like pictures of like Italy and a little map of the Mediterranean where the ship was going. And so that's where I want to go. That's what I want to do. And so somehow, I forget how I did it, I found out who the entertainment director was in San Francisco, where their office was. And I sent him a resume like every month and a letter every month. And I got the phone number of the cruise line, and I get the entertainment department. I forget what the guy's name was, because this is over 30 years ago. Let's just say his name was John.
Okay.
And I'd call up and I'd say, I get to the entertainment department, how can I help you? He said, hi, this is Mark, is John in? Just like we're old friends, you know. And every once in a while, they put me through. Usually they'd say, who are you, you know, and why do you want to talk to them, you know? But sometimes they'd recognize my voice, but they couldn't remember where they heard me from. Yeah, sure, and they put me through. And he'd answer the phone. I said, hi, Mr. So-and-so, this is Mark Thornton. And I said, Mark, I told you that if I needed that stage manager, I'd call you. I've got your resumes, stacks and stacks of your resumes, stacks and stacks of your letters. We don't need anybody. Quit bothering me. You know? And so I hang up the phone. Anyway, that went on for like over a year.
All right. Didn't give up.
And one day, the theater I was working at in New Mexico burned to the ground. And out of a job again, no money, phone's going to be disconnected, you know, no savings, no nothing. And so I said, well, I'm going to call Royal Viking, because my phone's going to cut off anyway in a couple weeks. So I called up, got through to him. Hey, it's Mark, see if you need a stage manager. He gets real quiet on the phone. He goes, well, can you be here on Thursday for an interview? He said, can you be here in San Francisco on Thursday for an interview? One of our guys hurt his back.
Wow.
I go, yeah, sure, no problem. We'll see you then, you know. And so I hang up the phone and go, how the hell am I going to get to San Francisco? And I scraped together enough money for a round trip ticket the same day from Albuquerque, New Mexico to San Francisco. And so I had one blue blazer that my father had bought me for job interviews, one tie, one pair of gray pants. So I got on the plane, flew to San Francisco. And once I got to the airport in San Francisco, I had no money and no way to get downtown where my interview was. But I knew where it was. I had a map. And I noticed that there were these shuttle buses running to the hotels from the airport that were free shuttles. And I saw one for like the Hyatt that was going, I knew the Hyatt was near a few blocks away from where my interview was. And so I hopped on that bus, went downtown, go upstairs, meet the entertainment director, you know, and it's super nice to me. He says, well, what we need is an assistant stage manager / AV guy to run the movies. And we got a movie theater on board. He said, have you ever run a movie projector? I said, oh yeah, sure, I did that in high school. I never run a movie projector in my life. And this is not like little movie, this is like the big 35 millimeter,
the monsters,
two big German things. And anyway, so I said, yeah, sure, I can do that. And so they hired me. And then I flew back home. And then like a couple weeks later, they flew me to New York. They paid for everything now. You know, they flew me to New York, I had to get a physical. So they flew me to New York City, put me up in a nice hotel. And so I go to the doctor's office. A van picked me up, took me to the doctor's office to get my physical, but you have to have a physical before you get on a ship. And so I go to the doctor's office, and they gave me this white robe, and it was the nicest doctor's office I've ever been to. They're offering me coffee and donuts and I mean, first class service. And I can't believe how nice it is. You know, I do the whole physical and stuff. And when I'm done, the receptionist says, well, good luck with your election, Mr. Thornton. I go, what? With your election? The same day, the exact same day, the exact same time that I had an appointment to get my physical for Royal Viking, the guy that was running for Attorney General of New York City, whose name was Mark Thornton,
No.
also had an appointment at the same doctor's office and didn't show up.
Wow.
And so they thought I was, even though I'm a young kid,
What are the chances of that?
I'm like 23, 24 years old. They're thinking I'm Mark Thornton. And so, you know, but anyway.
Did you win?
Yeah, I got that done, and from there I flew to Curacao in South America and worked on my first ship.
So that, and how did that go?
Great, changed my life, you know. But it was like, you know, again, I had no money when I got there, but this is $500 a week, and got a passenger cabin, and we got paid every week in cash, no taxes taken out, nothing, and you know, you have no expenses on the ship except for what you spend going out and having fun, you know, in the ports. I was going all over the world.
So how long do you go away for then? I mean, how does it work?
6 months at a time.
And then how long do you have off?
Usually 2 months.
And do they pay you for the 2 months off?
No.
No, but you've saved so much while you've been away, presumably.
Yeah, I didn't want to be home. I would stay on the ship forever, you know. But anyway, all I had as far as clothes, like this is back in the days when after 5 o'clock, gentlemen didn't even wear brown. Everybody dressed up, formal-like tuxedos. You know, everybody was dressed really well on those ships. Anyway, so during, I was still working backstage, so I was in booths and stuff. You know, I wasn't out on stage back then, and I'd hide on formal night because the only thing I had was one blazer, one tie, and one pair of pants. And one day the cruise director called me in his office and Mark, he said, how come I never see you out and about on formal night? And I said, well, I don't have any clothes. He goes, fill this out. He gives me a form, and it's got like a picture of a man, you put all your measurements on there and stuff. He said, well, this job comes with a clothing allowance.
Oh, wow.
And so I filled out all the information. About 3 weeks later, this huge box shows up. It's got a tuxedo, shoes, shirts, dress pants, shirts, everything. All for free.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I've never been on a cruise, but I've heard about this old captain tables business where you sit with a captain. Mm-hmm. Did you have to sit with people on tables and things, or you kept?
I did at other times, not at that point.
Okay, we'll get to that then.
Yeah, later on when I was the cruise director and entertainment director, I did that, and the last couple contracts I did, I was on Seabourn, and on there I had a really beautiful passenger cabin with a bathroom, with a bathtub, and a phone in there, and room service and everything. It was like a really expensive ship, and but they wanted me to host tables all the time. So the guest relations would call me up, say, "Mark, can you host a table tonight?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So I'd go to the dining room early, and there'd be a table set up with names all the way around, and there'd be VIPs like astronauts, you know, people from Harvard University, you know, really top notch. For example, Christmas in 2017, we had the director of Harry Potter on board. His name was Christopher Columbus, believe it or not, that was his name, Christopher Columbus. But he was on board with his whole family. And so, you know, we had the VIPs, we sit down with them, and when you host a table, like, you know, all the wine and stuff was free on that ship, everything's included. And they would just come and you would taste the wine, and you'd try and get the conversation going. Like, if you notice that this person down here wasn't saying anything, you'd say, so Mr. Smith, you know, tell me where are you from and what do you think about that? I try and get everybody talking and keep the conversation going, and I got really good at doing that.
So before you made it big in the old cruise liners, when you were like, you know, your first couple of jobs, what do you do for food then? I mean, I know it's provided, but do you eat the same as the guests do, or do you just go in the kitchen and get?
It's changed now, but back then, like, I had a guest cabin with a window and everything. I had room service. My girlfriend was in the casino at the time. She was a croupier. And when she got off work, she'd come over and we'd order steak and lobster and have it sent to the cabin.
And that's all on your allowance, even
all
when,
free,
when you're working in the...
Oh yeah, all free.
Fantastic.
And then if I wanted to eat in the dining room, I'd just go and have to make sure there's a table available. But usually I ate in the buffet, you know. And I could eat and of course there's an officer's mess and a crew mess too. So plenty of food on the ship. Plenty.
And do you think it's still like that? Because I mean, lots of jobs like in the Air Force when I was in it, the perks have gone now. It's not the same. Is it the same? The cruise ships, it's not the same.
The job that I'd say my first job as production stage manager, like I said, guest cabin, $500 a week. I could swim in the pool. You know, fast passengers came first. You didn't take like the the best lounge chair. You had to find one in the back. If you went to the show, you had to wait till everybody was seated, and if there's any seats left, you could sit down and watch the show. You could go sit 7th row center, take a seat away from the passenger. You weren't allowed to sit on bar stools on any cruise ship. At the bar, you could go to the bar, go to the disco. You couldn't sit at the bar. But nowadays, that same guy is still making $500 a week, and that's 40 years
40
ago.
years on, right, okay,
35, 40 years ago. And he's sharing a cabin with like 3 other guys, so he can't go anywhere except for the crew area.
Wow.
So yeah, it's not the same.
So is that why you got out of it, or?
No, I was such a high level when I got out of it. I was, a 3-stripe officer in some of the jobs I had. And I still had guest status. I had guest entertainer status, so I could do anything a guest could do, anything an entertainer could do.
And because I don't know if we're getting to this bit or that was before, because I imagine you've done a few jobs. Because I remember you were saying the story once about you were doing auctioning, and you had a champagne allowance.
Yeah.
How did that work?
Well, that was when I left doing cruise directing. I ended up worked on land for a while, had a business, then went back on ships as art director.
Right.
And that was for the largest art gallery in the world. And we had art auctions and an art gallery on board. And so basically you're auctioning off art. And I was really good at that. And my record was $1 million an hour sales.
Wow. That must have been a high-end
And
ship.
we had everything from like animation and sports collectibles to signed Picassos and Chagalls and Dalis and Rembrandts, that were etchings, and really good art. And I was really good at it. And that was like really good money, like way more than I ever made doing anything else.
Was that the best job you had in the cruise ships?
Probably, yeah. When it first started out, you're talking like $20,000 a month.
Wow. That was so. Why did that come to an end?
They just kept cutting you. Like they'd say, you're making too much money.
Right.
And they want you to sell more and pay you less.
Okay.
And so every time, it's like every couple of months they come up with a new rule or a new thing that they fine you for mistakes. Like if you forgot to put a phone number, somebody didn't have an email. Like back then, everybody didn't have an email. If you didn't have an email on the form on their receipt, on their invoice for the art that they bought, they'd fine you like $40 or $50. And it kept going up. Like second time was 100, third 300. There was always fining you for stuff, and I just got tired of it.
So was that the last job you did before you came to the Philippines?
Yeah, more or less, yeah. Well, no, I sold cars too. Like I had quadruple bypass surgery, so I couldn't work on ships anymore.
Oh, is that what stopped the ships?
Yeah, that's
was
what
the
stopped
health?
the ship. I'd still be out there today if it wasn't for that.
Right. Did you enjoy selling cars, or
No,
didn't like it at all?
I was very good at that too, but no, I didn't like it at all. The last place I worked was the nicest dealership in Louisville. They sold Jaguars, Land Rovers, Audis, Porsches, Maseratis. And I got to drive all those cars, but I just didn't like that. I'm not a car guy.
The funny thing is, I've interviewed 3 people now, I think, who are car dealers. Paul McGill used to be in the
I
car.
know. Yeah,
And
Paul was the finance manager.
Everyone hates it. No one has said they enjoyed that job, but there you go.
They were so nice to me. They had an office, and it was guaranteed $1,000 a week for the first couple of months, which was great money for car salesmen. And I had a nice office, and nobody was like breathing down your neck or anything. And the assistant manager, the guy that really ran the place, this is sweetheart, the nicest guy, and very helpful and low stress. But it wasn't for me. I was all the time. I was on my computer trying to find a job on a ship.
Wow.
And when they couldn't find out that I had heart trouble.
Oh, you're going to try and drag it out of that. So back to the cruise ships. We'll come to an end soon because you've been very generous with your time. Of all the places you've been to, because you've said to me before, I think you've been over 100 countries. Mm-hmm. Which was the best one for the old?
That's really hard to say. But one place that I really enjoyed a lot was Dubrovnik, which used to be part of Yugoslavia before the war.
Right.
Beautiful place. Still there, Dubrovnik. I like Egypt a lot because I'm into ancient history.
Whereabouts in Egypt were you stopping?
We went in Port Said, which is 75 miles, I think, south of Cairo.
Okay.
And also Alexandria.
Right, Alexandria. Had you been to the Philippines on any cruises?
No, never been here. No desire to ever come here. Not on my list.
So how did you end up there then?
Just saw a video on YouTube with a guy named Enrique.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And I saw that it was easy to get a visa here, cheap to live here, and they speak English. That was a big reason.
See, well, that's interesting because I just assumed, because you've been to so many places, you must have stopped off in the Philippines a couple of times and thought, I'll come here.
There's no ships coming here. None. The ships pass through on their way to Thailand or wherever. Like I think I looked it up one time. It's like 120 something ships this year that will pass through the Philippines, but they're not staying there. They might stop in 1 or 2 ports, but they're not staying here.
Right.
And so I never had the opportunity.
And never thought about trying Egypt or Dubrovnik or anywhere like that?
What do you mean?
You said to come in the Philippines, yeah, when you came out.
Well,
You know?
no, because I don't speak the language, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to go to Thailand. Actually, I was going to stay here for a couple of weeks and then go to Thailand. But things kept getting better and better here, and I ended up staying. I've been here 5 years now.
Well, you're married now and you've got a kid on the way, so you're not going to be able to. So your plans are just to stay in...
Oh yeah, I'm going to stay where I'm at, the apartment I've got here in Dumaguete. I want to visit around and stuff, but I have no intention of ever leaving.
And you're in Bacong?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad things have worked out for you, mate.
Couldn't be better.
It's an interesting life, it's a great story, and all's well that ends well.
Yeah.
So, really appreciate your time, Mark. Until the next time.
My pleasure.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sure you did. I enjoyed doing it. So, you know what to do. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel. You'll make a middle-aged man very happy. And whatever you're doing, wherever you are, stay safe and be lucky.